An independent editorial defense analysis focused on Australia's strategic environment.
In an era characterized by the proliferation of anti-access and area denial capabilities across the Indo-Pacific, the traditional metrics of air power, speed, maneuverability, and payload are increasingly subordinate to the mastery of the electromagnetic spectrum. The arrival of the MC-55A Peregrine in Australia signals a fundamental reconfiguration of how the Royal Australian Air Force approaches the lethality of its combat fleet. While public attention frequently centers on the kinetic capabilities of the F-35A Lightning II, the induction of the Peregrine suggests a recognition within defense planning circles, a recognition that fifth-generation stealth is not a static attribute, but a decaying advantage that requires external support to remain viable. This acquisition is not merely the purchase of 4 modified business jets, but the installation of a critical architectural node designed to decouple the sensor from the shooter, thereby preserving the survivability of high-value combat assets in contested airspace. The strategic rationale for the Peregrine program, valued at approximately 2.46 billion Australian dollars, rests on the operational paradox facing the F-35A fleet. While the Joint Strike Fighter possesses formidable onboard sensors, specifically the active electronically scanned array radar, the utilization of these active emitters in a high-threat environment compromises the electromagnetic discretion that defines the platform. In a battle space saturated with advanced electronic support measures capable of triangulating radar emissions, the act of searching for a target can be tantamount to self-identification. The MC-55A Peregrine addresses this tactical limitation by providing a high-altitude, passive sensing layer. Operating as a silent sentinel, the aircraft can detect, identify, and geolocate adversary emissions without generating a signature of its own, subsequently transmitting targeting solutions to forward-deployed F-35s via low probability of intercept data links. This symbiotic relationship allows the combat fleet to engage targets while maintaining complete electromagnetic silence, effectively transforming the Peregrine into the eyes of a force that prefers to keep its own shut. Until the moment of engagement, the selection of the Gulfstream G550 airframe for this role reflects a pragmatic prioritization. It prioritizes endurance and operating economics over kinetic survivability. Unlike tactical aircraft that rely on speed and defensive maneuvering, the Peregrine relies on altitude and standoff distance. By operating above 45,000 feet, the platform achieves a horizon of view that allows it to peer deep into littoral environments or archipelagic choke points, while remaining outside the lethal envelope of most surface-to-air missile systems. This introduces a distinct operational concept, where the center of gravity for intelligence collection shifts away from the forward edge of battle, toward protected rear areas. However, this reliance on standoff distance highlights a potential vulnerability. As long-range air-to-air missiles continue to evolve in range and sophistication, the sanctuary of rear area airspace shrinks, potentially forcing high-value enablers like the Peregrine to operate further back, thereby degrading the fidelity of the intelligence picture available to the tactical edge. From an industrial and sovereign capability perspective, the program illustrates the complex trade-offs inherent in Australia's procurement strategy. The mission systems of the Peregrine are integrated by L3Harris Technologies in the United States, utilizing a proprietary architecture similar to that found on U.S. Air Force platforms. This alignment ensures seamless interoperability with American forces. a non-negotiable requirement for the Australian Defence Force given the integrated nature of alliance operations in the Pacific. Yet, this high degree of technical integration implies a dependency on foreign supply chains for software updates, threat library management, and system sustainment. The efficacy of an electronic warfare platform is dictated by the currency of its threat database. If the system cannot recognize a new adversary waveform, it is functionally blind. Consequently, the operational sovereignty of the Australian electronic warfare capability is tethered to the responsiveness of the U.S. industrial base and the data-sharing protocols of the Five Eyes intelligence community. The scale of the acquisition also presents a systemic constraint that merits scrutiny. A fleet of only 4 aircraft leaves virtually no margin for attrition or surge operations. Standard availability modeling for complex aviation assets suggests that with one airframe likely in deep maintenance and another committed to training or transit, the Royal Australian Air Force may realistically generate only a single on-station operational line at any given time. For a continent with the geographic expanse of Australia and a maritime area of interest that spans from the Indian Ocean to the South Pacific, this lack of depth creates a brittle capability. A single mechanical failure or combat loss could effectively blind the fleet, removing the electronic overwatch that the F-35As rely upon. This fragility suggests that while the Peregrine provides a qualitative leap in capability, it lacks the quantitative mass to sustain high-tempo operations across multiple theaters simultaneously, placing a heavy burden on complementary systems such as the MQ-4C Triton and space-based assets to fill the inevitable gaps. Furthermore, the introduction of the Peregrine necessitates a significant maturation in the human capital of the Royal Australian Air Force. The interpretation of complex electromagnetic data and the coordination of cooperative electronic attack require a cadre of highly specialized electronic warfare officers who are as scarce as the airframes themselves. The delay in the program's initial operational capability, which has slipped from original projections, likely reflects not only technical integration challenges, but also the difficulties in generating the training pipeline and infrastructure required to support such a niche capability. This reinforces the reality that modern military modernization is often paced not by the delivery of hardware, but by the generation of the cognitive infrastructure required to employ it. The Peregrine also represents a shift in the philosophy of air battle management. By networking the MC-55A with the E-7A Wedgetail and the P-8A Poseidon, Australia is constructing a distributed sensing grid where no single platform is required to perform every function. This disaggregation is intended to complicate the targeting calculus of an adversary. However, it also increases the reliance on resilient communication networks. If the data links that bind the Peregrine to the F-35 are jammed or severed, the force reverts to individual platforms operating in isolation, significantly degrading the collective combat power. Therefore, the value of the Peregrine is contingent upon the resilience of the network architecture that underpins it. Ultimately, in the MC-55A Peregrine program serves as a tangible manifestation of the shift from platform-centric to system-centric warfare. It acknowledges that in the transparent battlespace of the 21st century, information dominance is the prerequisite for kinetic success. While the small fleet size and reliance on foreign intellectual property introduce distinct risks, the capability provides the Australian Defence Force with a mechanism to assert control over the electromagnetic spectrum. It transforms the F-35A from an isolated fighter into a node within a broader kill web, validating the assumption that the most effective weapon in the modern arsenal is not a missile, but a data packet delivered at the speed of light. The challenge for Australian defense planners remains ensuring that this sophisticated electronic nervous system is sufficiently robust to withstand the shock of high-intensity conflict.